What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Okay, so we're going to continue our Fodder, not the Fodder 4-star series, 4-star water monsters. And we're going to start off with Soha. So, Soha, I've probably previously underrated her a little bit, but I've been considering building her. Even though someone like me who has Praha, I wouldn't mind another monster that has an AoE debuff skill, an AoE cleanse. And it's pretty useful to have monsters like that. So if you have her, I would suggest building her. Throw soul beads in it. This is a self-heal, like a vampiric ability. And this, after she's awakened, she has a 10% chance to freeze enemies. Now, she hits 3 times, and that 10% chance sounds pretty low, but I believe it goes up to 30% after her first skill is max skilled. She's actually really not so bad. The thing about Soha is you want her to go first or second on your team. Now, when I mean first is without an attack bar buffer. Usually, if you have an attack bar buffer such as Orion or Bernard, they're going to be faster than her. So you want her to go second to them. Now, if you're not using an attack bar buffer, you want her to be the fastest one on your team. Why? Because usually you're going to deal with an enemy Chloe or Will Runes or something, so you could AoE cleanse the Will Runes off and then just go ham on the enemy team. There is no wrong way to build her. You can build her Fatal, you can build her Rage, you can build her Despair, or you can build her Violent. As long as you meet that requirement that I'm telling you, there is no wrong way to build her. The way I would probably do it is speed, crit damage, attack. Now, substats that I would look for is, I would look for speed substats, obviously, some accuracy and some crit rate. And that's about it with her. We got Mcken over here. Mcken, she has an amazing kit. I like her a lot. After she's awakened, she gets a freeze ability. Every time she crits, she freezes the enemy. And it can be resisted, by the way. Then she has this skill, which recently they buffed this on her. She has an AoE that can put glancing hit for 2 turns, and then it heals the ally with the lowest hit points by 25%. So it's like a little mini heal. And then she has a revive. She revives with 40%. She revives the dead ally with 40% hit points. And if the skill is used on herself, she receives soul protection for 3 turns, which isn't bad either. Even though soul protection can be debuffed. And people don't really use it, but it can on offense can be used in some ways. The problem with Mcken is, and some people have suggested using Mcken for Dragons B10. I don't, because her base hit points are too low and her base defense is way too low. She's got an overall nice kit. I've never built Mcken. I've thought about it. She's also a fusion monster. The thing is, as I said, it's very hard to use her. So, if you want to build her, it's not a big deal. But, once again, as I'm saying, you have to have really good runes to build her. And how I would build her is speed, hit point. Maybe speed, crit rate, hit point. Whichever way you want to go. Maybe you could just look for crit rate substats. You could look for crit rate in substats. But I would definitely try and utilize this skill right here. It's very important that you do. And then we've got Tyron. Tyron is probably one of my favorite Nat 4s. Top 5 favorite. He's good in a lot of different places. In dungeons, he's not. On Trial of Ascension, he is. In Arena, he's really good. In Guild Wars, he's good as well. Not the greatest, but he's good in Guild Wars. So let's take a look at what he has. He has his leader ability, attack speed by 19%, which is a huge plus for a monster. Then he has this AoE freeze, which goes down to a 5-turn cooldown. Then he has this AoE glancing hit, which goes down to a 4-turn cooldown. Then he has this. He buffs his own crit rate, and he has a chance to attack consecutively by 30%. Now this isn't a violent proc, so it's not going to reset any cooldowns, but it is going to just keep going, attacking, and that can be devastating for an enemy. This skill, that 30% attack consecutively, can also happen with revenge runes. So depending on how you want to build Tyron, do you need him for TOA? Do you need him for PvP purposes? Do you need him for what do you call it? Well, that's it, Guild Wars. For Guild Wars, I would definitely put Revenge Runes on him. But you know what it is? He's very hard to build. You need speed, you need accuracy, you need attack, you need crit rate, you need hit points, you need a lot of things. His base hit points, his base stats, other than his attack, but his base hit points, it's like having a nat 5. That's why I like all the sylphs. The sylphs are all pretty tanky by themselves. The way I have mine built is speed, crit damage, attack. He also has some runes that give him, that make him kind of tanky because it's like a 20% hit point substat the way I have him. 2 builds that you can do with him: Swift Focus, Swift Revenge, an alternate, or Despair Focus, Despair Revenge. I would probably suggest Despair Revenge if you can get his accuracy good enough. If you're trying to do TOA hard though, in TOA normal it doesn't matter. You could probably get away with speed, crit damage, attack. TOA hard is a different ball game. If you're using him in TOA hard, you should do speed, hit point. Look for plenty of accuracy substats and try and get him for pretty much to freeze and to do his AoE glancing hit. Then we got Lumeracia. Lumeracia used to be a monster that everybody used to solo dragons B10. So she has this 50% resistance for all water monsters. What does she get when she's awakened? Okay, you know what? I never understood this skill over here, because before it was a full heal and now it's a full heal. I didn't understand what it was before. So this is a full heal, single target heal. What's good about her, I don't use her for dragons anymore, but I do use her sometimes in arena, arena sometimes, but more for guild wars. I like her for guild wars. Inflicts damage on an enemy with a strong shock and puts the target's skill on cooldown. That's really good. So she's a good Theomars counter. She's also really tanky. Her defense is really high, and her hit points are really high. So you can get away with like speed, hit point, and then when this is maxed out, I think she has an 80. Don't quote me on this one, but I think she might have an 80% chance to land the dot. So overall, she's a great utility monster. I do suggest building her. It's just build her when you're ready. Don't build her to solo dragons. It takes way too long, and then it also fails sometimes too. So she's actually a very good monster. I like her a lot. Alright, so now we got Isaria. Isaria has a 24% leader ability. Yes, attack speed, leader ability. What does she get when she's awakened? Okay, she gets the leader ability. She has this skill: attacks 4 times with a pack of bats, recovering 50% of the inflicted damage as hit points and absorbing 10% of the enemy's attack bar. Alright, that was a recent buff on her. Slaps an enemy target and disturbs its hit point recovery for 2 turns. If the target is asleep, the target will be stunned for 1 turn. And then she has this sleep over here, which I think is an 80% chance when it's maxed out. So this was also a buff afterwards on all of the succubuses. She was really good. The thing is that she's a single target nuke. She can't really be used outside of PvP purposes. Maybe for guild wars, fine. She does her multipliers are actually okay. Do I suggest building her? Not really. If you really need the 24% attack speed leader ability, then fine. If you have like a really fast Bernard, but other than that, I don't really suggest building her. If you do want to build her, you can build her like Fatal Focus for this and for this, and this doesn't need it. You can do Rage Focus. I don't suggest Despair on her. She doesn't have any AoEs. You can even do Violent. Violent might be the best one for her in some ways. The thing is, I usually don't suggest Violent runes for attack bar manipulators. She manipulates her own attack bar. When she puts an enemy to sleep, she gets 50% more attack bar. So maybe Fatal or Rage Focus would be better. Now the question is, do you want to do speed in slot 2 or do you want to do attack in slot 2? That's your choice. I personally might do speed in slot 2, speed, crit damage, attack, just because she has the attack bar manipulator, so she can get as many turns as possible. Let's move on. Cian. Cian is considered probably one of the worst Nat 4s in the game by a lot of people. I've seen people try and build him, and it's like a failed project, but revives with invincibility and immunity for 1 turn at the moment of death with 25% hit points. Fine. He has this, summons a surprise box that deals damage and inflicts random weakening effects to all enemies. This skill I actually like. I use it with Lucian. And then he can hit really hard. He doesn't have as high an attack as some of the other jokers. He has some uses. The thing is, I really don't suggest building Cian. He's not that great. If you do want to use him, Fatal Focus, Fatal Blade, Rage Blade. You can even go Violent Blade just to cut down on this, just to cut down on the cooldown for this. Maybe make him annoying. I really don't suggest Cian too much. All right, Susano. All right. He has one of the better leader abilities, increases attack speed of ally monsters with water attribute by 30%. Reduces the odds of receiving a critical hit by 50% and increases your resistance by 50%. He's also a fusion monster, by the way. Inflicts great damage by slashing the enemy with the energy of the sword and reduces the enemy's attack bar by 30%. And then he has a dot with this. He actually has a really, really high attack. As a single target nuke, you can build him. I've seen some people build him and they farm 5-on-1 with him as a 6-star max with impeccable runes. He doesn't have that many uses though outside of that, and even in the arena. Yeah, he's gonna speed up a water team, but there's not too many people. It's not suggested in the arena to take a mono elemental team, especially when, all right, you know what? There is Orion or Orion. Orion is probably the only one I would build him. I would use him with, but still, there is no real use for him. It's just an attack bar reduction and a dot, and then this is just a 50% chance. You're depending on RNG. You want to build him Fatal Blade, Rage Blade, Violent Blade, Standard Attacker, Attack Crit Damage Attack. That's the best way to build Susano. Julie recently got a buff. Her leader ability doesn't make sense for her, but it doesn't matter. Throws numerous cards to attack all enemies. Attacks 6 times when this attack is used with full hit points. I actually recently built a Julie. I was kind of bored. I didn't build her correctly though. Her runes aren't the right way. She has no speed on her. She's just full attack. She can do a lot of damage. She can decimate your team if you have an AoE weakened defense just with this skill right here. She also has this, attacks with a magic card and freezes the enemy for 1 turn with an 80% chance. And then she also has this, attacks by throwing 2 cards, each having 50% chance to remove a beneficial effect. Alright, which this can come in useful sometimes. So as I said, if you have an AoE weakened defense, something like Luer, I'll even suggest a Mystic Witch, but the Mystic Witch is definitely not a good suggestion. Or Galleon. Galleon is the best one of them all. If you have Galleon and you do an AoE weakened defense and you get an attack buff, she'll just decimate the enemy team. She's really, really good. Just for that, as long as you have her at max hit points when she uses that skill. The reason why some people weren't using her as much before is because it was random on how many times she's going to attack. Now, as long as you have full hit points, it's going to be 6 times on everybody. So Luer has actually been overshadowed by Galleon. Luer is still actually a really good monster. I like him a lot. So increases accuracy by 40%. Accuracy leader abilities really aren't all that important in this game. Attacks all enemies, decreasing their attack bars by 50% each and weakening their defense for 2 turns. So there's a 100% chance to get both of these. The thing is, it's still not consistent. He needs very high accuracy. His overall hit points and attack and defense are really bad, but he has a really good kit. This has a nice multiplier, but other than that, it's really not that great. Binds the enemy and inflicts damage up to 3 times. Each attack has a 60% chance to decrease the target's attack speed for 2 turns. Fine. And then he has a stun. I believe this skill goes down to a 5-turn cooldown. Some people use Luer for a cleave. Pretty much a cleave is for teams that finish you off after the first round or second round. He still has very good uses. He has a nice base speed. That'll give it to him. It's not the greatest, but it's average at 1 in 5. The way you would build Luer, I would build him either Swift or Despair. Don't go Fatal or Rage. Swift or Despair, Focus. You can do Revenge if you get the accuracy high enough. Just for the random stun here and there, I guess. I would try and build him the same way as I said. He's either going to go first or second on your team. or you know what, or third. So it depends on how your team works. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're using a Soha Luer team. You would want Soha to go first, debuff all the Will Runes or even the Chloe Fanatic buff, and then you want Luer to go right after so that he can decrease everybody's attack bar and put weakened defense. So it depends on how you want to build him. Speed, hit point, and look for accuracy and speed substats. If you want to look for some crit rate isn't horrible for him. Liesel. I've been considering building one for fun. Right? His leader ability is pretty good. Increases the hit points of ally monsters in dungeons by 38%. The reason why I've thought about building him for fun is just for Necro. Attacks with a group of bats, the damage increases if you are less wounded. Alright. I don't remember how many times this hits. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4 times. It's got a semi-decent multiplier. Some people use him for 5-on-1 farming. I wouldn't suggest building him unless you can mech skill him. Other than for some dungeons, he's really not that great. In Arena, you know what though? Maybe he can be tested out. Maybe you do like a Luer or a Galleon and Liesel team. But other than that, he's not that great. And I know I'm going to get bad feedback for this, but Liesel, his kit is not that great. The reason why I even suggest him for Necro is because he has this. Attacks and weakens the enemy's attack power and decreases the enemy's attack speed for 2 turns with a 75% chance. And it's like a vampiric ability. He attacks 2 times. So he has 2 multi-hits and then he has this. He's not too good, but he's not that bad either. He's got some more added value just for Necro, and that's about just because of Necro. Yeah, he could farm 5-on-1, whatever. You want to go fatal attack, fatal rage or violent wounds? I would build him as a standard attacker, attack crit damage attack or speed crit damage attack, whichever way you want to go with him. His speed though is kind of lacking at 99. Alright, we got Sue here. I like Sue. Recently they buffed all the racks. Let's see what she gets. She gets crit rate by 15%. Recently they buffed all the racks and they have leader abilities now. Increases the attack power of allied monsters by 25%, which really isn't bad. Attacks and recovers by 50% of the inflicted damage. The attack is guaranteed a stun for 1 turn if the enemy is suffering more than 2 harmful effects. So she's got a single target stun. This is, she attacks 3 times and she puts dots. And then she has this, and it's a slow. She can be used in Necro. She can also farm 5-on-1. Her first skill is based on according to attack speed. That really doesn't matter. Attack sometimes is better, depending. You have to go over 200 speed for you to notice, and even 200 sometimes you're not even going to notice it that much. So sometimes it's better to do attack crit damage attack. For her specifically, I might do attack crit damage attack because her multipliers are really high. Racks hit really, really hard. So I would probably do attack crit damage attack if I build her. The way I would build her is either you can do it's a lot of different builds for her. Fatal, Rage, Swift, or Violent. Violent would be my preference, but you can do any one of those 4 and she'll be a monster. Fedora. You know, some people, they're going to tell me that I'm wrong about this, and Fedora is a great monster, but here's the but, okay? He's not that great in Dragons. You can't use him in Necro. He's not that great in Giants either. He has this leader ability, which they recently gave all the Death Knights this leader ability. I guess you can use it in raids. The problem is with raids, I don't like him for raids. I don't like him at all. I've seen a lot of people try using Fedora and it didn't work out for them. Why? I'm going to explain why. Protects all allies from death for 1 turn, removes all harmful effects, and gains immunity for 2 turns. Alright. So he gives you the Endure buff, he has a cleanse, and then he puts immunity on you. The thing is, the dragon, the raid boss, can take all of this off. So the raid boss can take it off. Let's say you're down to no hit points. The raid boss can take it off and kill you. And not only that, gets stronger when he takes away all these buffs. So Fedora, in my opinion, is kind of a no-no. If you really have to build him, whatever. But I really wouldn't build Fedora. Then he has this Check and Destroy, which works perfectly in raids. It decreases attack and defense. Whatever. And then he has this unrecoverable right here. Fine. I really don't suggest building Fedora. I would save him. He's food for Briand and I guess Arnold. Arnold is okay for raids. Yeah, I don't like Fedora. Some people like him, some people have him maxed out. I know a lot of people that pretty much regret building him. Alright, Rigel. Cold Steel uses Rigel quite a bit. He's good for Necro. He's good for raids. Arena, he's okay. He has his leader ability, 33% hit points, whatever. Gains immunity against freeze, stun, and sleep effects, and decreases the chances of being attacked with a critical hit by 25%. This is a passive. What's really good about him and why he's good for raids is this skill right here. This skill right here has a very high multiplier, super high. So randomly attacks the enemy several times and weakens the defense for 2 turns with a 35% chance with each attack and exchanges the decreased attack speed effect with freezing effect for 1 turn. Alright, so he also decreases attack speed, right? And he attacks 2 times. This is why he's actually pretty good for Necro. For Necro, I would suggest, if you're building a water team, I would suggest him. I've thought about building him because I have a bunch of liches just sitting around. Much better than what people thought he was. Just the multiplier in this is really high, and hits really hard for raids. So, better than what he was. Is he a great monster? No. Is he good? Yes. Absolutely. The way I would probably build him, you can go Swift if you wanted to. You can go Fatal, you can go Rage, and you can go Violent. If you're going to use him for raids or like Necro, I don't suggest Despair. I know for going to the boss, the Despair would work in Necro, but it wouldn't work against the boss, so it makes him kind of worthless. So I would definitely go with one of the 3 other builds, which would be, or 4 other builds: Swift, Fatal, Rage, or Violent. It's up to you on attack crit damage attack or speed crit damage attack. And if you're using them for raids, you might have to go speed. You might have to go speed crit damage hit point or speed crit damage defense. His base defense is really low. I might go speed crit damage hit point. Or you could do speed hit point, but his defense is really low. I would put him in the rear. Don't put him in the front line. Kaz. Now, Kaz was probably one of the better 4-star attackers, water monsters. This skill I've seen hit for 70-something thousand on a video. This skill is underwhelming. This skill hits hard too. And I believe your attack speed increases, okay. Okay, it increases your attack speed, and then this decreases your attack bar, their attack bar by 50%. This skill is it goes along with speed and attack. Any skill, every single skill, even if it's based on defense, it's going to work on attack as well. It's going to work off of attack as well. And then he has a weakened defense right here. For Kaz, you can do Rage, Fatal, or Violent, Blade, or Will. Will would be better. You can do speed crit damage attack or attack crit damage attack, as long as you bring his crit rate high enough. And he will hit really, really hard as long as if you max his skills. You're not going to get 70,000 off the bat, but you're going to get high. You're going to be able to one-shot a lot of things. The thing is, he's been overshadowed by Theomars. Theomars took over the arena and Guild Wars and everything, and it's gotten pretty crazy. And people are building speed Theomars, so maybe you might need him to be a little fast. So you could do speed crit damage attack, as I said, attack crit damage attack, and look for speed substats. Depends on what you want to do. Depends on the runes you have. I still think he's a pretty good monster. I have him ruined as well. I just haven't been using him. I need better runes for him. Anyway, that's besides the point. So let's move on. Her, another underwhelming monster. She gives defense in the arena. She has this: strikes 4 random targets with the power of water. Each strike has a 30% chance to stun the target with for 1 turn. If this skill is on cooldown, you have a 35% chance to counter. Attacks the enemy 2 times with swift kicks. Each attack has a 75% chance to remove a beneficial effect. Alright, and then attacks the enemy with condensed energy. Shadowless kick is activated against again with a 30% chance. Alright. I would definitely put revenge runes on these chicks because the revenge can also proc this. You can build her violent, fatal, swift, or rage, whichever one you want to do. Again, speed crit damage attack or attack crit damage attack. The multiplier on this actually isn't so bad. It's the fact that she hits 4 random targets. I have a friend that uses the wind one in raids sometimes. Don't ask. And it did quite a bit of damage. But you gotta remember, in raids, if it's gonna hit 4 times, it's hitting the same thing 4 times. So it's really, really random for, let's just say, for arena. For Guild Wars, it might be useful though. Might. Orion. Now, in my past video that I made almost a year ago, I considered him fodder. At the time, he kind of was. They buffed him afterwards. So, and I've gotten a lot of ridicule for this one. So, anyways, he's actually all right for raids too. He has this leader ability, increases defensive ally monsters by 25%. So what he didn't have before is randomly selects an enemy 4 times. Not this. Additionally, the attack bar of all allies will be increased by 30%. He didn't have that before. This is what made him so good now. So he puts a random, he removes a beneficial effect, has a chance to stun, decrease defense, and disturb hit point recovery. The ore is not an ore. He does all of these, he just puts them on random enemies. So, let's say he hits a monster with, let's say you've got 3 monsters, let's say it's a guild war, right? And one of them has will runes, and the other 2 don't. So let's say he tries to remove the beneficial effect on the monster that doesn't have the will runes, and then tries to put a weakening effect on the monster with will runes. It's not going to work. It depends on how it is. The thing is, he's so unpredictable on defense that sometimes people don't know how to deal with him. He's actually really, really good now. How to build him. Swift will is pretty much the way I see a lot of people build him. Now, there is another way, and it does work. Another way of building him is violent will. The only way to get him on violent, though, is if you have above 220 speed, I would say. And here's another thing about having him on swift will, or even violent will with all that speed. Some people build him with no accuracy, and he doesn't land any debuffs. You have to be able to get some accuracy on him. So, swift will or violent will. Violent, I'm telling you, it has to be above 220. Now, why does it work on violent? Even though he's not taking the first turn, somewhere along the line, he might steal a turn. And the thing is, he already has a chance to get an extra turn with his first skill. So, there's 2 chances of him getting a second turn. A 30% chance on one of them and a 22% chance on the other one. Sometimes that turns out to be a 100% chance. So, he's going to end up stealing, when his turn comes, he might end up stealing the turn. He might end up getting an extra turn, increasing everybody's attack bar, and it actually works out pretty well with him. So, but you want him on will runes. Either way, even if somebody's bringing a Tiana in there to attack him, you want him on will runes anyways, just in case they don't, so that he can avoid certain things, to avoid a stun or a freeze. And then he has this AoE 1-turn weakened defense, which can be devastating as well sometimes. So an Orion is a must build for Guild Wars and Arena, and he can be used for raids. I've seen people use him in raids. He's not bad. He lands all those weakening effects. Malaka, probably one of my favorite bombers, and why? Because Malaka means asshole in Greek. But anyway, that's besides the point. Okay. The way I would build Malaka is Fatal Focus right off the bat. He has this bomb over here. I believe it's on a 4-turn cooldown when it's maxed out. I have one maxed out, I just don't remember. This is on a 4-turn cooldown as well. No, this is on a 3-turn cooldown maxed out, I believe. And then for each weakening effect, The damage is increased by 15% for each harmful effect on the enemy. So it goes up. The way I would build him seriously is attack, 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 fatal focus. You can, for TOA hard, build him despair. He has this little AoE. A random stun is not bad. Build him despair focus. You can also do violent focus. Just make sure you do attack, attack, attack. Some people build him, like for TOA hard, for floor 100, I've got him built attack, hit point, attack. Attack, hit point, hit point. And with speed substats. He needs some speed if you're going to use him in TOA hard. He's a beast in TOA hard. I'm telling you guys right now. So he needs some sort of speed. You can even build him speed, hit point, or speed, attack, hit point. Just try and get him to move. You got to get him to move, because when he's way too slow, he doesn't really do much. Doesn't help you that well. But in TOA hard, this helps out a lot because he decreases attack power and defense. And then when they have all these weakening effects on them, he ends up hitting really hard with his first skill. So, by far, probably the second best bomber in the game. I think Dover is just a tad better than him because he has the stun. But for TOA hard, he is the best bomber. For TOA hard in general, he's the best bomber to use. Alright. Miyang. Another monster I underrated. Miyang in raids is amazing. My friend uses her all the time. He doesn't die. I think he has Miyang and Colleen as the healer and as his healers, and that's it. That's it. What did she get? Increases resistance by 25%. Even better for raids. Recovers the ally with a mysterious dance and extends the time of beneficial effects and shortens the time of harmful effects. The recovery power is in the proportion to the attack power. Throws a fan of blades to attack the enemy 3 times, with each attack having a 50% chance to remove one beneficial effect. Fine. And this goes up with your speed. And then she has glancing. It's actually a very, very good kit for raids, because she has glancing as well. So she has this which it's either going to remove a harmful effect or shorten the time of the harmful effect. And this skill hits pretty hard. My friend has her built speed, hit point, defense, but she has a lot of hit point substats, a lot of attack substats, a lot. And she has a very nice speed. I think it's like 170 speed, somewhere around there. 180 maybe. She's on Violent Revenge, I believe. She could be on Violent Revenge. Violent Focus or Violent Revenge, I don't remember exactly. But honestly, all he has is Miyang and Colleen, and he's good to go for the entire raid. And she's really, really, really good for raids. Just for the glancing effect as well. For raids, she's good. Arena, she's okay. If you build like an annoying arena defense, you really can't take her against debuffers. For the reason, because she extends a buff. If a debuffer debuffs all the buffs, and even though she's going to decrease even though she against Praha, she's going to decrease the amount of the dot damage. Still, she's really not that great for the arena. But I also hear stories that people like her for dragons as well, and she can be used as well in Necro. She's not that great in Necro. Raids though, I think she's a great monster, just from what I've witnessed with her. This guy was actually, when he first came out, people were building him to do dragons. So increases attack power by 22%. He has this, inflicts great damage by attacking the enemy 4 times and decreases the defense for 2 turns with a 25% chance for each attack. That great damage really isn't all that great. He has a nice attack though, for a 4-star, 622. The reason why people were using him is because attacks all enemies 2 times with waves of water. Each attack has a 30% chance to decrease the target's attack speed for 2 turns. If the target already suffers an attack speed reduction, this attack will stun them for 1 turn. The whole point was so that they can decrease the tower's attack speed. The thing is, it doesn't lower the attack bar. This is why Spectra is better in Dragons. Otherwise, I really don't like Gildong. He's not that great. He has this attack also increases the target's chance for landing a glancing hit for 1 turn. This attack lands as a critical hit. He might be okay for raids. He has glancing hit and a slow, and then a weakened defense as well. You know what? For raids, now that I think about it, he could actually be pretty good for raids, just because he has all these debuffs. So, and the glancing hit debuff is actually pretty important. It's not as important as an attack down debuff, but the glancing hit debuff is pretty important. You could build him Fatal Rage or Violent, even Swift, but Fatal Rage or Violent. If you're going to build him for rage, you need him kind of tanky. So maybe you do like attack, crit damage, hit point, or you could do like speed attack, speed crit damage, hit point, or you could do speed defense attack, or whatever the case is. But you can build him in those ways. I forgot the rune build for her. Violent is the way to go all the way, just to get her cool. Her cooldowns are kind of alright. 3-turn cooldown isn't that bad, and this is a 3-turn cooldown. Either way, either Violent or Swift. Speed attack, a speed hit point with attack subs, stuff like that. Look for speed subs. Alright, we got this guy now. Very underwhelming. I really don't like him too much. Hit point leader ability in Guild Wars. Let's see what he gets. He gets his increases accuracy by 25%. They actually buffed all of these guys, the Barbaric Kings, with the Guild Wars leader ability. Attacks the enemy 2 times, with each strike having a 75% chance to steal 1 beneficial effect from the enemy. When this attack is on cooldown, your attack speed increases and you recover 10% hit points every time. Yeah, if some people wanted to use him for dragons as well. It's not that 75% chance. I don't know if it goes up to 100% when the skill is maxed out, but when is he going to use the skill? The dragon has to. Like, it depends on when he uses this skill. It depends on the AI. I personally don't like him. I think this is an AoE stun. Attacks an enemy with a wrathful axe, leaving a branding effect for 2 turns and increasing your attack bar for 2 turns. The target with the branding effect will receive. Well, this isn't so bad. Right here. Just for the branding now. Still, I know that this skill, I'm almost positive this skill's multiplier isn't that great. Attacks the enemy twice with the axe and inflicts continuous damage for 1 turn, with a 50% chance for each attack. Now that I see that he has the branding, I didn't know he had branding, he might be a little better. If you want to build him and try him out, you go Violent, Fatal, or Rage. Blade. Maybe Revenge. I don't know about Focus. You want to get accuracy on him just so you can remove the beneficial effect. So you got to look for quite a bit for him. But that's the only way I would build him. Attack crit damage attack, maybe speed crit damage attack. With this meta now, a lot of monsters that you would only do attack crit damage attack, you end up putting speed on them. A lot of people are putting speed on them. Alright, so now we got Galleon. Probably rated, if not the best 4-star in the game right now for cleave damage, for cleave teams. A lot of people want him. So, he's got this leader ability for Guild Wars. I love it. Increases attack speed by 24%. Okay, so unleashes a battle cry that increases the attack power of allies for 2 turns and decreases the enemy's defense for 2 turns with a 75% chance. I think it goes up to 100% chance for it to proc when he's max skilled, and I think it goes down to a 4-turn cooldown. Then he has this deals a powerful attack to an enemy and absorbs 30% of its attack bar. For once, when they, I don't know, I guess devastating damage is not as good as powerful, because this actually does deal a powerful attack. I like the multiplier on this. It's come through for me quite a bit. And then has a 1-turn weakened defense on his regular skill. Alright, there's different ways to build Galleon. I have him built Will, Shield, Blade, I think. I don't remember what the 3rd set was, but it's the Will and the Shield. Now, you can also go Violent Will. The reason why I have him Will and Shield is so that when I fight enemy Orions, or Orions, he tries to debuff the Shield over the Will or something else, so that it can confuse Orion. You want him as fast as possible. He's another one in the scenario where you want him going 2nd or 3rd. Not 1st, really. 1st, you want your attack bar booster. 2nd, you want your AoE cleanse or AoE debuffer. And third, you want him to go to put the weakened defense. So it depends on how you do it. As I said, second or third. So you want to put speed in slot 2? Absolutely. Look for speed substats. I have him built as an attacker. I have him speed, crit damage, attack. He is a little bit on the squishy side. Now, some people also say build him with accuracy in slot 6. I try to look for accuracy in the substats. But the way you should build him, you should at least put crit damage on him and try and get his crit rate as high as possible. If you have to go speed, crit damage, accuracy. This skill hits very hard and it comes through for you at like your most trouble, like your most troubled times. Trust me on that one. And it decreases the attack bar by 30%. That's big sometimes. Sometimes you can use this to decrease the attack bar and then your other ally can go. Galleon, all around, one of the best monsters in the game to have. Great monster. It depends on how you want to build them. As I said, Violent Will. I have him Will, Shield, and Blade, I believe. Or maybe Focus. I don't remember exactly what I have him. Up to Galleon. We're up to her. Alright. She increases attack speed by 15, which is not bad. She has a nice attack speed, 110. Sings an irresistible song that seduces all enemies and puts them to sleep for 1 turn. This is okay. We'll get into it in a second. Removes all harmful effects on an ally and casts a shield that lasts for 3 turns. The shield amount is proportionate to the monster's level. Alright. And then she removes a beneficial effect. And it's based on her max hit points. For TOA hard, I think she would be alright. What's the cooldown on this? It's probably 5. The thing is, like an AoE sleep, excuse me, an AoE sleep is not that great because you can wake them up. So for PvP purposes, I don't find her that great. For PvE, she can be used. I personally don't like Tetra too much. If you do want to build her violent or swift, speed, hit point, look for accuracy substats, even though you don't need accuracy for this, but to remove beneficial effects. But look for speed substats first and then look for accuracy substats, just so she can remove beneficial effects. Give her an added effect. I personally don't like Tetra. So Lapiz. Lapiz is one of those new monsters that everybody has. If you foddered her, you're crazy. For a couple of reasons. I'm going to tell you why. She has a decent leader ability. This skill is okay. She can farm 5 on 1, by the way. Shoots 4 magic bullets that seek enemies with low hit point ratio. The skill has a 50% chance to disturb. It's basically unrecoverable debuff. And then hits 3 times. There's different ways to build her for what you want to build her for. She can be used for TOA on Despair runes. Build a Despair Revenge. Or Despair Blade. She can be used in Necro. She's on my Necro farmable team video. I personally don't use her. I only built her for that video. But for Necro, if you're looking for a monster that does multi-hits, this is the monster that you would build. One of the monsters that you would want to build. For Necro, you might have to build her a little tanky. I built her tanky so that she can tank my wind monsters. I built her violent revenge. Despair wasn't working for Necro because you need her to take as many turns as possible to basically deplete the shield. That's the only things I would build her for, is either TOA or Necro. For the arena, she's very underwhelming, even though they recently buffed her first skill, I think, and maybe her third. She's still a bit on the underwhelming side. Is she worth 6-starring? Yes. For Necro, as I said, for Necro, if you really, really need it and you need to farm will runes, I would do it. If you need her, she's also a free monster that they give you. So if you need a farmer, you can build her as a farmer. She has this blood-sucking ability, this vampiric ability, whatever you want to call it. It works out for her. Do I suggest building her? If you have other things that are better and they work for the things that I just said, such as farming Feynman, such as TOA and Necro, I would put her to the side. Other than that, she's okay. So we are going to go a little further down. We have this assassin right here. I've actually seen people use her in raids. I kind of like her. I want to build her. I wish I had Assassin Fodder. Attacks an enemy and decreases the attack bar by 10% for each attack. The number of strikes will increase up to 7 hits accordingly to your attack speed. Alright, they recently lowered the attack speed requirement so that she can do the 7 hits, but I think that there was a Reddit post where she had to have 300 speed for her to do the 7 hits. Now, it's not hard to reach 300 speed before she goes, and now hear me out on this one. If you get her above 200 with like a 19% leader ability, and you buff her speed with, let's say, Bernard by 30%, there's your 300 speed right there. The thing is, it's a single target nuke. Once again, there's Theomars for that. Attacks the enemy 2 times. Each attack has a 50% chance to leave a brand for 2 turns. Enemies with a brand will receive 25% increased damage. Then she has a weakened defense right here. For raids, I've considered building her if I can max her skills. What's the cooldown on this? 6 turns. It'll probably go down to 5. She's not so bad. She's actually pretty good. I like her. I would probably build her Fatal Blade, Rage Blade, or Violent Blade. Maybe this would be really good to keep it going, and then this would probably be on a 3-turn cooldown. If you're gonna use her in raids, I would probably do Violent, like Violent Revenge. Maybe get a weakened defense, a random weakened defense. Even for the arena, Violent Revenge is not that great for the arena, but for raid, like for arena, you go speed, crit damage, attack. For raids, you go speed, crit damage, hit point. Yeah, her defense is horrible. So I would probably do speed, crit damage, hit point, and look for speed substats, and you probably need hit point substats too, and you put her in the rear. But she's really not bad. She might be one of my future projects as well. Ryan, this was a Hall of Heroes monster. Has his leader ability, increases attack power in dungeons by 33%. Swiftly attacks the enemy 3 times with each attack inflicting continuous damage for 1 turn. If the attack lands as a critical hit, it will disturb the target's hit points for 2 turns. This probably goes down to a 3-turn cooldown. Then attacks an enemy and inflicts continuous damage for 2 turns. This attack will also decrease the enemy's defense for 2 turns if it lands as a critical hit. Cool. And we have this. Swings a dagger to attack the enemy 2 times and subsequently increases your attack power for 2 turns. Alright. I actually know somebody that was using him in Necro. I don't know if they ever perfected that team. I never spoke to them after that about it. He's okay in Necro. My girlfriend also built him and she was using him in Necro on the lower levels. It depends on your Necro team. It really does. He can be used in Necro. The thing is that his brother Trevor overshadows him quite a bit. If you do build him Fatal, Violent, or Rage Blade, you can also do Revenge, attack, crit damage, attack. You can do speed, crit damage, attack as well, but attack, crit damage, attack is better, especially if you have Revenge, so that he can possibly kill something. Ryan, though, it really isn't all that great. Alright guys, my tablet died, sorry about that. So we're going to move on to Emma. Emma is actually really good for TOA Hard. She's good for TOA Hard and she's good for Guild Wars too. The way I would ruin Emma, they actually messed her up, they nerfed her. They gave her, this was at a 5-turn cooldown, 4 maxed, no, I'm sorry. It was at a 3-turn cooldown maxed, and now they gave it her. They put her up to 4-turn cooldown, because I guess the defense buff, and everything that she did was a lot, so they had to nerf her a little bit. Attacks an enemy, removes all beneficial effects on the target. If there are 2 or more beneficial effects removed, the attack bar of all allies will be increased by 20%, and this does glancing hit. Alright, and we'll just read this. Heals all allies by 30% of your max hit point and increases their defense for 2 turns. The skill generates a shield that lasts for 2 turns and is equivalent of half of the excessive heal. Okay. So, pretty much if you're at full heal and you need a defense buff, you also get a shield. Which is cool. Which is not bad at all with her. It actually helps out a lot. I have a friend that tried using her for raids. Again, the buffs that she does will make the dragon stronger. So it really doesn't work out to your benefit. But for TOA hard, as I said, she's really, really good. Depending on how you use her exactly, Olivia is a little better because she has a reduction, an attack bar reduction. This doesn't reduce the attack bar. And not all enemies have 2 debuffs or 2 buffs to debuff on her. So if you do decide to use Emma, she's really good for PvP purposes and Guild Wars. I would do Violent or Swift, Speed, hit point. And yeah, that's pretty much just the overall build. I believe she gets resistance. Yeah, 40% resistance in guild battles. And we are on to him. He's actually pretty cool, Avaris. He has a soul destruction passive. When you defeat an enemy during your turn, the enemy's soul will be destroyed and will prevent the enemy from being resurrected, and will grant you soul protection for 2 turns. You know what? I'm not 100% sure what the soul protection means exactly. Attacks the enemy 3 times, with each attack having a 50% chance to deal a branding effect, which is cool. That's a good one. And then attacks the enemy twice, with each attack having a 30% chance to disturb the enemy's HP recovery for 2 turns. And he has a resistance leader. Him, I would definitely build him attack, crit damage, attack. Even though he lacks the base attack, he makes up for it with the branding effect. And if you have a monster that does weaken defense along with him, he can actually do a lot of damage. And when he kills them, they can't come back to life. For example, Perna or Theomars, or anything actually. Anything won't come back to life. But it's a nice Perna counter. And let's see, Chilling. I want Chilling. I've never summoned him. He's really good. Alright, he gets this, increases accuracy in dungeons by 40%. About leader ability. Accuracy leader abilities aren't really all that great. Steals a beneficial effect from the enemy target when landing an attack. Your attack speed increases according to the beneficial effects currently on you. Cool. Actually, I didn't even know that he had that at the end. Increases attack speed and crit rate for 2 turns. And then attacks the enemy 3 times, with each hit having a 30% chance to decrease the target's attack speed for 2 turns. Alright, for Necro, I disagree with it, but a lot of people use it for Necro, and it works out for them. I think the Fire one is a lot better for Necro. It does a lot more weakening effects. For Dragons, though, especially for beginners, he's really good. If somebody picks him up in the beginning of when they first start playing the game, he's actually really good for Dragons. Because he always removes a beneficial effect. I'm not sure if this can be resisted. I never really asked. If it can, he's still good. It doesn't matter. He has 3 chances every time he attacks. He increases attack speed. He increases his crit rate. You can't go wrong with it. PvP purposes, I really wouldn't use him too much. He's an attack-based monster, though. You can build him speed crit damage attack. I would definitely put speed in slot 2 because you want him buffing as much as possible. Would I do speed crit damage attack? I really don't know. I don't have this monster. Maybe if I tried to build like a speed dragon team, I would love to have him, and maybe speed crit damage attack would be the way to go. But I would suggest also speed hit point to keep him alive. He's a little bit on the squishy side. His attack is a little low, but he's more of a utility monster than he is anything else. And that's it for the Nat 4s, guys. Oh, I would go Violent or Swift on him, by the way. I would consider Swift, maybe. But Violent is a definite. So, and that's it for the Nat 4s, guys. Stay tuned for the Nat 5s. That'll be in the next video. I'll talk to everybody later. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. Thank you.